For 5 long weekends, I raised her kids while she partied like she was still 20. Every Saturday morning, the knock on my door meant the same thing. "Hey sis, can you watch them just for a few hours?" Those few hours always turned into nights. I cooked, cleaned, comforted crying children, while she posted selfies from bars. But this weekend, something inside me snapped. And when I finally told her I wasn't her babysitter anymore, I never expected how far she'd go to make me regret it. I used to think helping family was what good sisters did. When my sister Claire had her second baby, she seemed so overwhelmed that I didn't hesitate to offer help. The first weekend, it felt sweet. The smell of baby powder, the sound of tiny feet running around my house. I loved being Aunt Grace. But soon, one weekend became 2. 2 became 3. And by the 5th weekend, I had forgotten what silence felt like. Every Friday evening, I'd hear that familiar knock, her voice on the porch, all cheerful. "Hey sis, I'll be back in a few hours." She never came back on time. Her few hours often stretched into a full day, sometimes 2. I'd spend my weekends chasing toddlers, cleaning up toys, and trying to calm their tears when they asked for their mom. Meanwhile, my phone would light up with her social media posts, smiling with friends at a spa or laughing over cocktails. I told myself she deserved a break, that motherhood was hard. But what about me? I worked full-time, lived alone, and had my own exhaustion to deal with. My house became a playground, my weekends a duty, and my kindness a habit she exploited. By the 5th Sunday night, as I tucked her kids into bed yet again, I felt something inside me ache. A quiet voice whispering, "This isn't love anymore. This is taking advantage." It was the 6th weekend. I remember because that Friday, I had promised myself I'd rest. No cleaning, no errands, just me and a cup of tea. But by mid-morning, there was a knock on the door. I didn't even have to check who it was. There stood Claire, sunglasses on, her hair done up like she was heading to some fancy brunch. The kids clung to her legs. "Please, Grace, just a few hours." "Mom canceled on me," she said, already stepping inside. Something in me wanted to scream no, but before I could find the words, she kissed the kids, handed me a bag, and hurried away to her car. I stood there frozen, holding a diaper bag and disappointment. By evening, the kids were cranky. Dinner was a mess. My patience wore thin as I cleaned the spilled milk and wiped tiny tears. When I finally got them to sleep, my phone buzzed, a photo of Claire at a resort, wine glass in hand, captioned, "Me time at last." My heart sank. Me time. She was having me time while I rocked her crying baby to sleep. The next morning, she didn't show up until noon. She walked in smiling, scrolling through her phone, and casually said, "You're a lifesaver, sis. I don't know what I'd do without you." That line hit differently this time, because I finally realized she didn't want to know what she'd do without me. She wanted to make sure she never had to find out, and that's when something inside me began to break. The next Friday came faster than I wanted. I tried to distract myself with work, but a familiar knot formed in my stomach as the day ended. I knew that knock would come, and it did. Claire stood there again, kids in tow, her tone light and confident. "Grace, you're the best. I just need a few hours, promise." But this time I didn't move. I just looked at her. My hands trembled a little, but my voice came out steady. "No, Claire. Not this weekend." She blinked, surprised, as if she hadn't heard me right. "What, Grace, I really need this. I've already made plans." I said no, I repeated, softer but firmer. "I love your kids, but I can't keep doing this. I'm tired, Claire. I need a weekend too." Her face changed, disbelief first, then anger. "You're unbelievable. I thought family helps each other. You think you're better than me just because you don't have kids?" Her words cut deep. I wanted to defend myself, to remind her how many nights I'd lost sleep rocking her baby. But I stayed silent. Sometimes silence says more than shouting ever could. She grabbed her kids' hands and stormed off, muttering under her breath. I watched them go, my heart aching. The house fell quiet, painfully quiet. For the first time in weeks, I had my weekend back. But it didn't feel peaceful. It felt empty. That night, as I sat on the couch, guilt and relief tangled inside me. I had finally said no, but I couldn't stop wondering what it would cost me. 2 days passed before I heard from Claire again. The silence felt heavy, like the calm after a storm. I kept checking my phone, hoping she'd call or at least text. But there was nothing. By Monday evening, a message finally came. "Thanks for showing me how selfish you've become." I stared at the screen, my heart tightening. Selfish. That word echoed in my mind. All I had done was say no. One small no after months of saying yes. Was that selfish? Days turned into a week. I missed the laughter of her kids, their little footsteps running across my floor. I missed being Aunt Grace, but I also started sleeping better. I began reading again, cooking for myself, feeling the quiet peace of my own space. Then one evening, Claire showed up at my door. Her eyes were tired, her voice softer than before. "I didn't realize how much I'd been leaning on you," she said. "I just thought you'd always be there." Tears filled my eyes. "I'll always be your sister, Claire, but I can't be the only one giving." For a moment we stood there, two women learning what boundaries really meant. She hugged me, whispering, "I'm sorry." That night, I watched her drive away with the kids waving from the back seat, their smiles warm and innocent. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it's the only way to be seen, not just needed. And that's how one small word, no, changed everything. It wasn't said in anger, but in truth. Because sometimes love doesn't mean giving endlessly. It means standing up for yourself when no one else will. If you've ever felt taken for granted, remember, your peace matters too. This was Elder Tales Stories. Subscribe for more emotional life stories that touch the heart and remind us that even in silence, love still speaks.